there is this tension created by the fact that the Soviet Union gave the Lviv area to the Ukrainian Socialist Republic, a constituent part of the Soviet Union. So there is some hostility between the two sides. But it does disappear over the decades, and during the 70s and 80s there is quite a lot of understanding between the Ukrainians and Poles that they both support each other in their quest for independence. So when the Solidarity movement comes into existence in Poland in the 1980s, there is also a similar movement taking place in Ukraine, which is especially strengthened after that Chernobyl accident in 1986, when more and more Ukrainians say that their country is being mismanaged by the powers in the Kremlin, and they believe that national sovereignty would give them more opportunities. So the Poles and the Ukrainians, they do support each other during those crucial years of 1989, 1991. Many Poles hope that the Ukrainians will join the Poles in their quest for becoming members of the EU especially, but also NATO. However, the political elite in sovereign Ukraine, especially their first two presidents, Kravchuk and Kuchma, decide that they want to have some form of balancing act, a similar position that Belarus tried to play for quite a while, that they are neither with the Russians nor with the West. It turns out that this policy is a mistake, unfortunately. So during those years in the 1990s and the early 2000s, Polish-Ukrainian relations are not as close as they could have been because of this very later on it turns out fatal mistake of international politics. However, the Ukrainians, they do realize that things are not going in the right direction. They have the Orange Revolution in 2004, followed by the Maidan Revolution of 2014, where they explicitly say that we do not want to join Russia's Eurasian Union. We want to move closer to the European Union. Russia naturally cannot accept this, and they quickly invade and annex Crimea, and unofficially, even though they send in regular troops, they also intervene in the Donbass area, starting this conflict that has lasted since 2014, which has to be said had cooled down significantly in the years leading up to the war of 2022.
Indeed, yes, it had become, much less prominent.
Yes,
in the news, even here.
Yes,
and we're much closer than London or New York to the action.
Absolutely. In 2014 there were heavy fighting. In 2015 there was also heavy fighting with the battles of Debaltseve, for example, large-scale battles. In 2016, these large-scale battles were gone, but there was still quite a lot of mutual artillery shelling from both sides with heavy artillery. However, by 2017, 18, 19, 20, 21, this artillery shelling was really down to very low levels, and the number of casualties on both sides were very low. You keep hearing from Russian propaganda today repetitions about 14,000 killed civilians in the Donbass area by the evil Kiev regime. This is what the Russians claim. The figure of 14,000 is from a UN report that states the losses on both sides, by the so-called separatists and the Ukrainian forces during the conflict from 2014. So, including that initial phase with the large-scale battles, the number of civilians killed was somewhere around 2,500, again on both sides. So if we are going to look at how many civilians were actually killed in Donbass, that is probably somewhere around 1,000 people, and that was also during those initial years of heavy fighting.
Adam, sorry, I'm going to have to, the clock in the corner of the room is doing its usual blinking at me, so I'm going to have to ask you to pause there, but fear not, we'll pick it up next time. There we are. I've had to interrupt Adam almost in mid-sentence, but fear not, if you join us next time, as we hope you will, we'll pick up the story here on Poland Daily History. In the meantime, thank you for watching.